Hello everyone, my name is Ashley, and today I'll be talking about the history and recorded texts of the autopsy procedure. I'll start this presentation as early as I could, like research online. So that's where I began with the Egyptians, and so at this point in time, they weren't really doing autopsies for the sake of why we do them now today. More or less, it was just kind of like basic dissection where they would take out certain organs, and you see them right here labeled at the top. So they had these things called canopic jars, and those would hold the organ, like the vital organs that we have here, like the liver. And there's these different heads. They mean something, and it kind of labels which organ's gonna go into what. Like like here you've got the baboon, which is the lungs, and then the falcon is the intestines, the human head is the liver, and the jackal is the stomach. And after that, like after they would dissect their loved one, they would take out the organs and they would place them in these canopic jars. And they would wrap them and they put them in a chest and then place them inside with the mummy. Um, But I have seen like a depiction in my research where they were inside the mummy, but not all would point to that too. So moving on, we begin to see a need for autopsy. Julius Caesar, he was like the first recorded, I think it's forensic autopsy, specifically determine what was the fatal blow and that killed him. And it actually was out of the 23 stab wounds that he was given to him at the day of the Senate. It was actually the second one that did it for him, which is that's what I thought was really crazy about that. Um, you have Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, of course, all famous artists that would obviously benefit from the information you could learn doing an autopsy, especially back then. There are articles that claim a magistrate in Bologna in 1302 ordered a legal autopsy on a criminal, but I couldn't find anything to substantiate that or like further detail that claim, which is what I wanted to do. But I added this just for the sake of adding the point that there's like a difference in a legal autopsy and a forensic autopsy. And a legal autopsy is mainly for documentation, and the forensic autopsies are for like determination and the cause of death if it was like murder or an unnatural cause. And so that's kind of why I wanted to put that in there. Um, so at the bottom here we have Giovanni Battista Morgani, and his achievements helped advance modern medicine. Oh, that's my bad. As they knew it. How do I get back here? Okay, sorry. As they knew it back in the Middle Ages, at least, he had a text called De Sebi Das. It was the first of his many publishings, and that shows the correlation between like findings at postmortem and like the disease symptoms like observed during a lifetime. So that was one of the first published pieces that would do that correlation, which is that is pretty cool too. Okay, so here I have just like a chronological order type thing. It's just based off like all the information that I found was pertinent to the project, and I've just put it in chronological order. And I've already covered some interesting information on these over here. I would just like to take a look at Andreas Vesalius, and he published a series called the 7 books on the structure of human anatomy, and afterwards, it is then required, like after this book has already came out, it is required in all medical schools that students dissect a human cadaver, which I thought that was awesome too to put that to include in here. Just because it is information that you would need to know, like if you're researching the history of autopsy. Um, it's kind of a big deal. It probably made a larger impact than what I'm leading on to, like speaking on, you know. So yeah, and Anna Morandi and Giovanni Manzolini, because together this beautiful couple pioneered a whole new concept. And it was instead of looking at the body like as the body as a bigger picture, what they did was they took, because at that time people who were doing autopsies, you know, the far few and in between, they were only looking at just the whole body and not like subverging, I guess you would say, into like organs and, you know, nervous systems and things like that. And that's what they did. This couple, that's what they did. They would extract organ systems entirely, like the entirety of them, and for further bisection. And yeah, that was just a really good, interesting piece of information that I found in my research. And you can't forget Dr. William Osler, who had created the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and much of his knowledge of disease stemmed from the thousands of autopsies that he had conducted. Um, okay. So continuing towards the 1700s, this introduces Rudolf Virchow. He wrote the Standard of Autopsies, and he was known to be in competition with Carl Freiherr, another person of interest when it comes to the history of autopsy. Carl Freiherr was the first person to examine every part of the body with a systematic and thorough approach. However, it was his competitor Rudolf Virchow, this guy right here in the photo, who did it microscopically to view each organ carefully. And I've added Dr. Edith Potter. I added her because in my researching and I'm just trying to do online research and things like that. Out of the many articles that I had read and I had to sift through, and book references I had to search, this is the only woman that I've found personally that had really kind of an impact on how we would start using autopsies to gain more information on diseases. This woman, Miss Dr. Edith Potter, she performed over 10,000 autopsies on infants, published over 140 scientific papers, and 6 books. And in the 1940s, she linked the common abnormal facial characteristics in infants to the absence of fetal kidneys. So it's some pretty hefty stuff, you know. And I don't know about like I don't know if I did my research thoroughly. I would like to think that I did, but I just thought it was interesting to see how you know, out of the many documents that you can find online, there's only a handful that you could find on women, and this is one of the ones that actually, you know, stuck out to me. And yeah, I hope that myself and other fellow classmates, female classmates, can change that as history, you know. So now we're getting into the modern day, like as we know it, you know, like the 1900s, I would say. And so it's 1951. The Joint Commission on Hospital Accreditation was founded and set a minimal hospital autopsy rate of 20%. And then in the 1970s, they dropped that requirement. And yeah, that had a negative effect on the autopsy rate in America, because since the pathologists, since then, like since 1971, nearly half of all the patients that had died in the hospital, less than 5% of them were conducted autopsies. That's That's a lot. That's a lot to go down from. This is mostly due to the advancing in imaging technology that have given physicians have given physicians more confidence in their diagnosis, so that so much so that autopsies are seemingly useless for disease-caused death. And that, I'm just paraphrasing an article that I had read, actually. That's not what I personally believe, or something that I concluded on information. That's just something I'm paraphrasing. Um, so now the autopsy and the funeral home business. This is something I didn't know if I had to add, but it's just kind of like an opinion, or maybe a forethought. A forethought after doing this project is that like the research that I would show is that some families are afraid that an open casket burial is not possible after an autopsy is done, and more education and more light on the topic would definitely make it clear that or just knowing that they think this, and that the information's online and no one's really doing anything about it, that should make it clear that families need to be educated, in that cases that autopsies are performed in a respectful manner, with no disfigurement to the body that would hinder an open casket funeral. And I've also seen on some articles say that there's concerns that autopsy would delay a funeral, but I don't know. I just don't understand how that would. I don't understand that. So I just thought I would add that to say, I feel like there needs to be more education on how autopsies would affect a funeral or funeral home, which I really don't think that it does all too much. Yeah, I don't think it does. So, and sorry, my bad. This slide right here, this was just tying into support my claim, or not really claim, but the other slide, and I think I just mixed them up on accident. But this was just going to add on to the JCAH whenever it was dropped as a requirement for other hospitals, to have a minimum of 30% autopsy rate for hospitals to be accredited. This was just to show the decline after that. So that was just added to support that, basically. And then I have here my works cited page. I'm not really sure if I have to add this onto the voiceover, but I am, just in case I do have to do that here. And I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.